Ben Simmons getting ready to go tonight for the 76ers. He's in the half court right now. Some would say that makes him an average player.
Ooh.
Even in warm-ups.
Ooh. That's fire. Ooh.
Some have said that.
Bang, bang. Spudley.
Sixers disagree. Game 3 coming up tonight on TNT. Greg Anthony is standing by in Brooklyn to call Game 3 on TNT. GA, when the grievances become public the way they have in this series over the last couple of days, how will it affect things on the court tonight, including how the referees might approach this game?
Well, I think this is going to be a pretty physical game, as physical as we'll see in the modern NBA. I felt like Philly came out and punched Brooklyn in the mouth, and they didn't handle it well, especially in that third quarter. But I think you'll see Brooklyn try to respond. The question, though, is Brooklyn's not a physical team by nature. They're a bit more of a skilled team. They like to get up and down. So I don't think they want to overplay their hand and get out of character. But I do think this game, in a lot of ways, I think is a must-win. Because if you're Philly, you don't want to give a young Nets team confidence that they could actually win the series. And if they come out and win Game 3, that's what happens. And if you're Brooklyn, this is an opportunity for you to keep home court and put that pressure on Philly. Everybody knows all the speculations about whether or not Brett Brown's going to be back, what personnel are coming back as well when you look at Philly. So this is a monumental game for the Sixers here on the road.
Greg, this is Grant. Hey, I just want to know, obviously playoffs all about adjustments. And I thought in Game 2, Philly did a good job on D'Angelo Russell. They really harassed him. They even at times put Ben Simmons on him, give him a different look with their length. Any talk with the Brooklyn coaching staff and the folks there just about what adjustments they may make to get D'Angelo Russell going like he did in Game 1?
Grant, I think it's a great point. I think they got a little bogged down. You know, they got too much into the one-on-one play. If you look at the numbers, they had 27 assists in Game 1 on 40% shooting. That's an amazing number when you look at how poorly they shot the ball. Game 2, they shot 47%, but they only had 20 assists. So that tells you that they were much more ISO-oriented, which I think bodes well for Philly. Philly's long. They're not the quickest team. And so if you play more ISO basketball against them and you play later in the shot clock, their size becomes an advantage. Brooklyn's a team, a fifth of their points come the first 5 seconds of the shot clock. And then over half their points come in the pick and roll. So I think you're going to look for them to play faster, and you're going to look for them to be more involved in that pick and roll game, because that's been their recipe for success against the Sixers.
Hey, Greg, this is Channing Frye. If you are Philly, right, how do you put pressure on Brooklyn to get the ball in the post? Have they talked about feeding Embiid more early and often?
Yes, Channing, that's a great point. And listen, they are just a markedly different team when Joel Embiid is engaged early and often. And listen, he's their best player. They have to play through him inside out. Game 1, he settled, I thought, a lot more for perimeter shots. Didn't have 2 feet in the paint enough. That wasn't the case in Game 2, and I think you're going to see more of that. The reality is Brooklyn does not have an answer for Joel Embiid unless he bails them out by settling for threes and jump shots. When he makes up his mind, I'm going to play inside out, I think Philly becomes a much more dangerous team offensively and creates far more problems for the Nets.
Hey, Jay, what's up? It's Booz. How you doing, man?
What's up, Big Booz?
Doing good. Hey, question about Brooklyn. Who do you think is going to be the X factor for them to come in, give those starters a big lift, a boost to help them get this Game 3 win?
You know, they typically do it by committee off their bench, but a guy I'm looking at who's a barometer for me is Joe Harris. I think he's a guy, because of his ability to shoot it, that if he's having an impact on the game, their offense seems to flow better. So I'm going to be watching him early. Listen, their strength is their bench, but I do think they need to make a statement early in the game, and oftentimes the three-point shot has become the momentum shot. Spencer Dinwiddie's going to have to play well coming off the bench, but in that starting 5, someone other than D'Angelo Russell has to have an impact, and oftentimes shooting plays a pivotal role, and I think Harris is a guy that somehow, some ways got to get going, much like we saw with J.J. Redick in Game 2.
Greg Anthony with us from Brooklyn and rocking the turtleneck tonight ahead of Game 3 on TNT.
It's cold here. It's cold in
With
Brooklyn.
that Carolina blue jacket, too. We see you. We see you. With that Carolina blue jacket, we see you.
That's not true. Georgetown got gray and blue in it, too, though.
A lot of folks reading into a lot of signals from Greg Anthony. Ben Simmons, fairly pedestrian by his standards in Game 1. a triple-double in the Game 2 route. And perhaps not coincidentally, Jared Dudley spent about 20 possessions guarding him in Game 1, giving up just 2 points, while Dudley missed Game 2 with a calf injury. And, of course, as you know by now, he said between games that Simmons is, quote, an average player in the half court, great in transition. So what can the Nets do defensively to make that so tonight?
Well, Jared Dudley talks a lot, but there's some truth in the sense that he is great in transition. So transition defense is a must. Brooklyn, you got to get back. You got to form a wall. Simmons is so good and he's so long. Once he gets his foot in the paint, consider it a layup. So, Matt, let's say you're coming out and guarding me here. Obviously, I'm not a shooter. You don't want him to just get a full head of steam coming downhill. So a little, staying close, but not, not too close. But certainly backing up as Simmons goes. And then the defenders obviously want to be close enough. Philly's not a great three-point shooting team. So you can form a wall. I like to say there should be 5 sets of eyeballs on Simmons when he has the ball and he's going downhill. And there's enough time as he's going. There's no lanes there. You could still get out to a shooter if he passes out to a shooter. So forming that wall, getting back, making sure he doesn't get into the paint. Because once he gets in the paint, one dribble in the paint, and he's so long, and he can get to the rim with ease.
What's the appropriate amount of space for a guy like that? You want to encourage him to shoot if you can, but you don't want to let him get ahead of steam.
I think you have to play the game. I think you have to stop his momentum, especially in transition, but put your toes on a three-point line and send him to the worst shooter. J.J. Redick is generally going to be on this side. You want to send him this way because Joel Embiid is going to be on this end. If you send him to his right hand, you have lesser shooters on this side. You have Jimmy and Tobias. I think they're great, but they're not generally three-point shooters like that. Let's say he does beat you. Now you have your big man, Jared Allen, and people to drop back and box out Embiid on a short, weak side.
Oh, well said. I mean, I think at the end of the day, you want to force him to shoot jump shots, but also have the wall so he can't get in the lane. Make other guys beat you, which is what you want to do. You don't want to have him getting layups and dunks in transition and being able to feed everybody else.
And one other thing, too. Once he's out of transition in the half court, I play way off him.
Oh, way off.
Embarrass him into shooting the basketball.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what? He has the ball up top. I'd be right there in the paint. Make him shoot it. Make him beat you from outside.
He shot 21% from mid-range during the regular season. So there's something to
that's
that
21%
strategy.
better than me right now.
And one more thing, he can't make free throws.
There's that factor as well. More coming up here. Lou Williams
Swing.
and his benchmate Montrezl Harrell were huge in the Game 2 comeback against Golden State. Find out how their chemistry predates their time at the Clippers next.
This jacket's too tight, man. European cut.
At Barclays. Game 3 tonight, 76ers and the Nets. And a huge development if you're just with us. Joel Embiid will not play tonight because of that pesky knee injury. Keep in mind, Game 4 is on Saturday, so he'll get 2 more days of rest. Is that enough? We'll find out then. For now, an opportunity for the Nets. Here's Kenny Atkinson explaining tonight's to-do list.
I think we've done a decent job offensively. I think defensively, we weren't very good last game. So that's priority number one. We have to do a much better job in transition defense. We big slippage. We did not rebound the ball well, obviously, and told the guy we put Philly on the line 74 times in 2 games. So defense is we got to do a much better job. Offense, we'll try to help them, but we kind of do what we do. We'll see. Can we get more ball handlers out there? Sure, that's something we do, but we do that already. We do it a lot. We're not going to turn into the Pistons bad boys. Was that what they call them, bad boys, or the Broad Street Bullies? We're not the Flyers of the '80s. We are who. We understand who we are, but. That being said, if you don't bring the physicality, and I think our guys understand, if you don't bring the physicality in the playoffs, it's just tough. So we got to do what we do. We have to raise our physicality and our energy level, no doubt about it. But we do have to stick to our identity.
Kenny Atkinson there, and that was likely before he knew that Joel Embiid will be out tonight for the 76ers. Greg Monroe will get his first start as a 76er. He was barely there this year. In fact, this will only be his 5th appearance in a Sixer uniform. Booze, what's going through his mind right now, first of all, and what do they need from him tonight in that role?
I think he's surprised. But he is a vet. He is a vet. He's been around. He's been in the playoffs before. Honestly, I expect to see Boban a little bit more tonight than normal. He plays about 17 minutes a game.
Yep.
He's been playing well this series, averaging 14 points, shooting 62% from the floor. He can do a good job of blocking shots and rebounding. He just does it at a smaller clip. And obviously missing Joel Embiid, that's a huge absence in that paint for those guys. And I totally expect the Brooklyn Nets to try to attack the basket as much as possible.
Yeah, first of all, if I were Greg Monroe, I'd be thinking right now, man, I shouldn't have had all that raised pizza before the game.
He tried to get an extra good warm-up.
Junior's
And he
cheesecake.
might get two quick fouls. He might get two quick fouls.
Yeah,
You know, if he did, he ate a lot of food before the game. But now, I mean, look, they're not the same team.
Right.
And right now, this is great for Brooklyn. Brooklyn now, as Boozer said, can attack the basket, play with more confidence. Now you have to worry about defensively trying to guard Embiid, getting in foul trouble, his physicality. The thing they really have to be careful of is a letdown. I mean, how many times have we seen when a top player, is out for whatever reason or last minute's pulled from the game, and now you relax and you feel like, okay, we got this game made. I don't think that'll be the case. A young locker room, but I think just character guys in that locker room, great coaching staff. So they just got to come out, play free and loose, get up and down the court, feed off the energy of the home crowd, and attack the rim every opportunity they can.
Brett Brown said there is a night and day difference between the Sixers with and without Joel Embiid. They're just 8-10 without him this season. And just thinking big picture, like macro picture for the 76ers, given his injury history, these sort of developments are not encouraging moving forward.
No, that's tough, man, especially because he is playing lesser minutes. He's played 45 minutes in 2 games, so you expect him to be rested. But I'm going to flip it and say, I think Ben Simmons has a huge game tonight. I think they get out and run. I think you see big games out of their 3s and 4s. Jimmy, Tobias, and Ben. I think they're going to get out, run. They might play a smaller lineup to match up with Brooklyn's smaller lineup, Mike Scott, and get out there and go hoop.
Even with the Simmons stopper playing?
No. Is that what we're calling it? The Simmons stopper, Big Dudley. He is vegan now.
Jared Dudley's a vegan?
No, I don't know.
Just making that up.
It ain't working.
No, it ain't working.
We had breaking news here on the set. There's Ben Simmons getting ready
Ultra
to go.
marathons, maybe? No,
They're not running as much with Monroe and Marjanovic. You're saying they may just go centerless?
Go small, yeah,
at
because
times?
remember in the first game they did play Jared at the 5.
Yeah. All right, later tonight, right here on NBA TV, Game 3 between the Spurs and Nikola Jokic's Denver Nuggets.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he's in.
Is that a new handshake?
Ooh.
Wow. Okay, wow.
Okay.
That was a very affectionate. I don't know what that was.
Millennials.
They're ready to go. Game 3 tonight. And right now over on TNT, they get you set for Sixers and Nets. We'll see you at 8:30 Eastern.